welcome to Left, Right and Centre. I'm Nidhi Razdan. First up, we are just 10 days away from the budget and all eyes are on Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman to see if there's anything that she can do to revive sentiment and kickstart growth, which is at its lowest in 11 years in this fiscal. On Monday, the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, lowered its growth estimate for the world economy, saying that India's slowdown was also a drag for the global economy. For 2019, the IMF in fact has revised its forecast for India to 4.8% from its earlier projection in October of 6.1%. That's a sharp downward revision in just 3 months. The IMF said that the growth markdown largely reflects a downward revision to India's projection, where domestic demand has slowed more sharply than expected amid stress in the non-bank financial sector and a decline in credit growth. So will the budget give us the signs of revival that we are looking for? One of India's top voices from the industry, Kiran Shaw, joins us now on NDTV. Kiran Shaw, thanks very much for joining us. Just wanted to get your reaction first, ma'am, to the IMF marking down
Nidhi,
India's growth.
I think I think basically we are clearly seeing that we are challenged with consumption and demand. But I think in order to address this economic challenge that we are facing today, these headwinds that we are facing, we need to focus on investment and exports. That is my personal view, because without investment you are not going to be able to create consumption nor demand. And I think the way we need to look at it is to really look at how does government increase its expenditure on infrastructure. The government needs to increase its investment in infrastructure, and I really believe that this will actually help to at least move the cogs of the economy. So I think the government needs to be very serious about divesting its PSUs and freeing up capital with which to invest in infrastructure. And I also personally believe that the government needs to build a very strong trust, the trust deficit that is lacking today. It needs to bridge it, and it needs to create PPP models by encouraging and inviting private sector investment in infrastructure building. This is the only way, I personally believe, that you can create employment, revive the industry, and who will then obviously find it compelling to invest in expansion, such as the cement industry, the steel industry, and everything else that goes with investment in infrastructure.
You've actually given a pretty
good...
So that
to me is a low-hanging opportunity, which I really believe the government ought to address.
You've actually given a pretty good roadmap.
And I hope that the finance minister will announce certain things.
Ma'am, you gave some, pretty good sort of suggestions on what you think the roadmap could be for the budget. I was just asking whether you are also concerned with the sharp downward revision of growth that the IMF actually put out just yesterday, because it was, 1.3% higher only 3 months ago. So did that come as a bit of a surprise, just how sharply downwards it's gone?
Well, Nidhi, it has been declining sharply over the last, several quarters. And we are clearly seeing that this downward revision is not something that is surprising, because we are seeing a clear decline in agriculture, in industry, and the only sector that is showing some stability is services. And even that is lower than expected. So I think until we really focus on investing and getting our industrial and agricultural, economies performing, we are going to be facing these headwinds. And that's why there is this urgency that is required to really make sure that this budget actually announces measures that actually look at how to quickly revive the engine.
You said the trust deficit needs to be bridged. Can you elaborate on that? What you meant by that exactly, and between whom? Is between government and businesses? Between whom?
Well, the finance minister herself said that she is going to make all-out efforts to bridge the trust deficit. I think people are not very happy, taking bold bets on investing in either brownfield or greenfield expansion. And that is tied to two things. One is, of course, there is a problem in terms of domestic demand, domestic consumption. And therefore, unless there is a demand, you are not going to be able to invest in that expansion. But equally, there is a huge opportunity to invest in export-oriented businesses. And that is not happening. Because I find that except for a few companies, maybe we are one of those few companies that are investing in manufacturing for exports, I find very few people doing that. They would rather look at opportunities offshore rather than investing in being fully integrated. So I just think these are big opportunities for India in terms of catering to manufacturing needs of global demand, and we must encourage those investments in India.
In fact, in light of that,
I also believe that the rupee needs to be made competitive.
Sorry, in light of what you said about
even more competitive.
In light of what you just said, about the need to encourage investment in India. Now, what did you then make of the Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal's remarks about Amazon, which created quite a lot of controversy? In fact, Geeta Gopinath of the IMF, when we asked her about this, said that India needs a lot of investment and it is important to encourage it. So clearly, remarks like that do not help encourage that investment environment, do they?
Well, I don't know what context he was making those comments, but certainly I think we definitely need to encourage investments from, whether it is overseas investments or domestic investments. I think we need to see investment, and I think we need to create that, that environment that people feel that this is a good destination for investment. So far, I don't think that India is being viewed that way under the current context, because there is a lot of aggression in terms of the tax aggression, because I think you are also seeing that the Vodafone case where a lot of the telecom sector has had to battle with tax claims. There are two sides to it, but I think you need to look at making this a much more business friendly environment, an investment friendly environment. And the government has to make an all-out effort to attract investment from both overseas and domestic. So I certainly think you need consistent policies, you need incentives for investment, and definitely you need to make it a welcome economy for investment. I totally agree that the messages being sent out should be very positive.
All right, Kiran Shaw, thank you for joining us with some perspective on what you expect from the budget and what you hope that it sets out to do. Thanks very much.